Get ready to quit the build.
Here we go.
The QTB crew is rounding up all the gaming news and hot topics of the week with a little extra something. And here are your hosts, Bruno, Brad, and Nick.
What it do? You are listening to the QTB podcast. I'm your host, Bruno, and with me, the Brothers McMuffins, the famous face of TikTok for QTB. It's Nick, and the spiky hair to pop all your balloons. It's Brad. What it do, boys?
Oh my gosh! I mean,
we're back. We're all back. You know,
we're here. We're in the same place.
Nick had some good fill-in supports from our network last week. Bruno and I were out of commission, but we're back and we're ready to hit it hard tonight. We're coming in hot.
Yeah. Oh my gosh! Big thank you to
Sizzle,
Chris from 1 Hour 1 Decision, and Joel, of course, aka Kung Fu Penguin, for filling in there yesterday. And it's our first time back in the same virtual studio since getting back to him from Vegas. So I'm excited to hop into it. And yeah, I mean, I got to tell you, we're having a time over there on the TikToks, Bruno. We are, I think, as of recording this, at 99,000 followers. We're right in that home stretch. We said 100K by the end of the year. I think we're gonna do it. But we're plodding along. I just dropped a new fresh track, some beats for you. If you like grilled cheese, if you're a cheese person, or you appreciate cheesy parodies, I've got some content for you. So you better be getting over to your local. It's on YouTube too. I uploaded it here. The grilled cheese song. And I mean, Brad,
can we get a little preview? Do we got that available? Do we got a little preview of that for?
Let me talk to my producer.
Yet?
I'm looking at my producer right now. Yeah,
grilled cheeses are amazing. I mean, to the point that we usually do during the holidays for an event, we'll do a grilled cheese bar. So you come, and when we host, it's a grilled cheese bar with like 8 different cheeses, 5 different types of bread, and like 2 panini presses and a grill press. And you can go and customize and make your own grilled cheese. And then you have your sides if you want to dip it like in some soup. So it is, grilled cheese are incredible, especially in cold weather. Be able to dip that in the soup and have that, man, it is top notch. Really? How about you, Bruno? Are you on board? Are you on the grilled cheese train?
What was that?
That was
really impressive.
Usually I've got the hankering for food, and Brad's coming out strong right now. He's like, holidays, grilled cheese. Well, I'm there. Soup.
Let me tell you, the reason I got hankering for food is because the reason I was out last week, your boy was under the weather and basically didn't eat food for 6 days, including not on Thanksgiving. So your boy's bouncing back strong and has the food hankering this week post Thanksgiving and is ready to tackle anything you put in front of him. So
I was
cheese
the same
is included.
way. I was the same way somehow with my voice. I'm still recovering, as you can probably hear.
Yeah.
But it happens. It happens. Too much of this. Woo! During all the sports that are around, you know what I mean? There's so much sports going on right now that I'm just like, woo, woo.
Yeah.
Woo.
Shout out to our men's national team qualifying for the knockout round in the World Cup.
Beating Iran.
Hey.
Okay,
Yes,
so I'm not even
1-0.
a sportsman, but when I saw that we tied England, that's the most exciting 0-0 game you'll ever see in your life, for a game like soccer, I'm like, wow, like, okay, England's supposed to be the team, so like we didn't lose, we didn't not win, but we definitely, I'm like, okay, but
ties and a
Iran,
win.
yeah.
2 ties and a win gets us out of the group stage. We tied Wales, we tied England, and we beat Iran. So we're moving on to knockout rounds for the first time in a long time, because we've missed, for the men's side, we've missed the last 2 World Cups. So this is something to be excited for on the national scale.
And Nick, we have one of the best soccer players that West Virginia has ever seen.
Yeah.
Fluffy Bunny in the chat.
Oh my gosh.
I'm telling you, this kid was amazing. Prodigy. Absolute lightning on his feet.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe. I always wanted to be quick. That was my superpower of choice. Speed. Super speed like the Flash. I want to be super fast.
Were
and
ya?
instead I got asthma. And that's
Well,
the opposite of super speed.
That ain't it. That ain't it. I was
It's a
just
debilitating, every time I see somebody run, I'm just like, how are you not dying right now? Tommy, I'm telling you, the kid was he had the footwork, he wore the sambas, he did traveling soccer up in there. The kid was good.
If Bruno was a Pokemon, the item he'd be carrying is an inhaler. Not a rare candy, nothing like that. It's an inhaler.
Yep. Wheezing. That was my. That would have been.
Bruno
me.
is taking a breather. It's he just
Bruno's the last evolution of coughing.
Yeah.
Coughing, wheezing, and then Bruno.
And then me.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Oh man.
happens.
So I did play soccer, we went to a private school, so there was no junior varsity or varsity. So there were middle school kids out there playing high schoolers, which was really intimidating. And I was the fullback, which meant that I couldn't run, but I could kick the ball really far.
Yeah.
And so that's what I would do. I would just kick the ball and pray to God that they didn't get past the other, 10 people on the.
I was the wild card in gym, and the wild card usually came up as a deuce, because it was a bad time for everybody, man. It's it's like, oh, what's he doing? Oh, there goes Nick. Oh, he's trying his best. Oh, now he's in the woods, and it's where someone get a first aid
Sounds
kit.
like my wife anytime she gets into a car in Grand Theft Auto. How'd you get on the roof? You can't even fly in that car. Well, believe me, I'll find a way.
Oh my gosh, that's right. Just get me home so I can get me one of those.
Well, grilled cheese is the best, Sammy, cause making them, it's so easy. The ingredients, well, you just need 3. Just spread some butter and your favorite cheese. In the UK, they call them toasties, but don't get one from Gordon Ramsay. Some tomato soup makes it complete, and if you want to eat healthy, make it with wheat.
Okay, so I'm probably going to get in trouble there with Gordon Ramsay. He's not happy when people disrespect the grilled cheese, but the man made the worst grilled cheese you've ever seen on the internet. It's the worst one.
He did?
Yeah, he did this whole recipe where I don't know how you botch a grilled cheese. He did.
I'm calling him out now. If he doesn't like it, then side TikTok us, side by side.
That's
and
right.
call us
Add
out.
us.
Go ahead,
Add us.
reshare it. Come on,
Gordon.
I'm calling you out.
Okay.
Even though your burger in Las Vegas was incredible. Okay.
Exactly. We love you, but come on, let's go. Amazing stuff. Well, welcome in, everybody. We are talking about this week's gaming news here on the podcast. And we got our live chat here to provide some commentary as we go. Welcome in, everybody. And of course, today's big stories we're going to get to are the new Super Mario Brothers movie trailer that's got people, I think, a lot more hyped than the first. And then we'll also talk a little bit about Scarlet and Violet, what's been going on there with the endgame and the ever evolving. I wish that weren't a term that I could use. Ironically, situation with a very broken game and incomplete game in a lot of ways. But first of all, before we get into that, gotta give a shout out to our amazing sponsor, our friends over at Winner Winner. Guys, I got to tell you, holiday shopping is the worst. Have you ever done that? Have you ever gone shopping for things and you have to go to a store or look at an online store? You have to pick something out. You have to put it in your cart and purchase it, and you don't even know what you're gonna get. And there's no fun. It's a boring process. It hasn't changed over the last, I don't know. How long has the internet been around? Somebody call Al Gore.
At least the 90s.
At least. But what I'm saying is this year I'm doing my holiday shopping on Winner Winner. Okay, there you go. Gotta catch them all. And this time they mean it literally. I'm catching all my prizes for my friends and family, okay? Because they've got those new holiday machines. You can catch abominable snowmen. They got a fun one where you have to drop presents into a chimney. And then you get the present, okay? That's a lot of fun. All right, so check it out. And don't forget that Winner Winner is free for new users when you download with our link. Your first win is on the house. Also, you can use promo code Dale when recharging your tokens at pay.app.winnerwinner.com. You're going to get that sweet deal with a 30% free bonus versus purchasing in-app on your next refill. Link is in the description for both of those links. Thanks, as always, to our friends over at Winner Winner Live Arcade. How about that? Thank you, Token, as always, for the interpretive dance. That's nice.
Nick, you mentioned the holidays. I know we want to dive into our first story, but
okay.
I have to share with our QTB family. We've been talking about this for a while now, and it's the holidays, and I couldn't wait any longer, so I had to get a little early Christmas gift for the wife.
Okay.
And this is what I've been up to this week.
Oh. Brad, is that the OLED edition of the Nintendo Switch? Did you go all in, my friend?
It is. It
oh,
is.
man.
Well, it's only $50 more, right?
Mhm.
So I think that's an easy buy if it's available.
It just came last night. So we are getting it set up, and the Switch is in the household now. So completed the trifecta over here. So we are just in time to get more games during the holidays. So
how do they not realize by now that if they just put if they put this music in the shop, we'd spend like 30 or 40% more. I'm getting out my credit card
right now.
I'm getting it out right now.
Right now.
I have to tell you guys though, this thing
I'm
is
gonna put it on stream for everyone to see.
This thing's pretty sweet. I gotta say,
Don't forget the
I've
CV
been
code.
checking it out just a little bit, and it's we've got all of the access to the entertainment
look at that
plus going on.
Oh yeah.
Oh my man, that's what you want to see right there.
Yep.
We're getting ready to dive in, but the Switch is now part of the console household over here in our house. So
we're 3 for 3 on Xboxes and Switches. Yeah, there you go. It's a beautiful thing, you know. You and earlier you were asking us both about kind of our recs for the best games you can get on the console, and we kind of went in different directions, right, Bruno? Because I had said what was it, Mario 3D World was a good co-op game, but you really enjoyed Kirby's Forgotten Land, right?
Yeah, me and my wife have been playing that. Yeah, so it's a great co-op game, and it's when you've got, I think Nintendo really knows how to do co-op games, right? Because they're including things in the game that make it easier for like a second player who may not be old enough or not familiar with video games, and it kind of bridges that gap. So I mean, how have you been enjoying it, Brad? Or at least what you've got so far? We're just getting our feet wet.
So yeah, I mean we're diving into all to the legacy stuff since we just signed up for that Nintendo Switch Online expansion pack, and we've got a few games coming in the few days. But that's my challenge to our listeners. Okay, so we posed that question amongst the three of us. What's the best single player solo campaign Switch game? What's the best co-op? And what's the best party game? If you guys got any ideas for your Switch players, drop them in the chat and let me know, because I got to do some holiday shopping. So I'm looking for some recs from our QTB community. So let me know in the chat.
So Nick, what were your three? What did you choose?
Definitely Mario Kart. I definitely said Super Mario Odyssey, because I think that a lot of gamers our age, Mario 64 was a very influential game, and the other 3D Marios that have come out since then have added in a lot of like extra gimmicks and mechanics that it's still a Mario game, but like it doesn't feel like it's about the platforming as much as it was in the 64 days. But Mario Odyssey, I think, really is the true follow up to that game.
Oh yeah.
I mean, there are extra things you do with Cappy and all that, but overall, it feels like a true successor. There's even parts in the game where it throws you back to some of the stuff you remember. So it's Mario across the board for me, which is appropriate for today's episode.
Oh yeah. Well, I chose the more diverse lineup. I thought, of course, I'm going to go with Mario Kart as the best multiplayer party game. For co-op, I went Kirby's Forgotten Land, just because it's something new, it's different, and it's a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun to go around and kind of, suck up cars and vending machines and different things like that. That's just been a great fun time. And then it's something that my wife really enjoys playing, which is a rarity in our house to have a game that she wants to play.
Yeah.
And then the first player game, even though I don't have it for the Switch, I played it for the Wii U. It's Zelda Breath of the Wild. I think that's got to be, if you've got the time to put into a game, that's going to be the most rewarding in terms of single player experiences. It's everything that we've ever wanted in a Zelda game. And I think that we're going to look back on this era of Nintendo games and really see a lot of gold. We're gonna see a lot of gems in the mix, because a lot of these are just better than they've ever done before, with Wii U and previous iterations of consoles that Nintendo has released. They've really found their stride. And I'm hoping that they carry that into them for the movie, right? Okay, there's been a lot of consternation about whether or
consternation.
about whether or not Chris Pratt is the right choice.
Yeah.
And we finally got to hear a little bit of Charlie Day in this new trailer for Luigi. Yeah. So, Nick, kick us off here.
Oh my gosh, the big story for today is really not coming from any one article source. It's just the trailer itself that, we've finally gotten the second trailer for the Super Mario Brothers movie. And I mean, people are really talking about this one because the first one, I mean, it definitely set the tone. It showed a high degree of animation quality, what you would come to expect from a company like DreamWorks, but not a whole lot else beyond. And if anything, it was very memeable because Chris Pratt, he just sounded like, Chris Pratt. But Jack Black definitely stole the show. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Nick, can you run down the cast just quickly? I know because we got a lot of voice scenes with a lot of characters, right? We got Mario, Luigi, Peach, Toad, Bowser. I mean, we covered the gambit there in the trailer. So what's the
there's
full
a
cast
lot of
like?
big names too attached to this. So
yeah, of course, the one and only Bob Hoskins as Mario, Johnny Leguizamo as Luigi Mario.
Oh,
and,
of course,
Dennis Hopper, who could forget as King Koopa. We can't go a Mario movie episode without bringing up Johnny Legs. Okay, all right, I'm moving on. No, the actual cast. This is a really great lineup. When it was first announced, I think there was some, a lot of people memed it, and I understand that Chris Pratt, that's just like, oh gosh, this guy's doing everything these days. Is that Chris Pratt is the voice of Mario?
I don't understand. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna come out of the gate and say I don't understand the hate. It's kind of like the hate for Guy Fieri. Like you just hate his flame shirts and his blonde tips, like in his sunglasses. Like, is that what it is? This guy is out here killing the bowling game. He looks like he's like one of the most BA bowlers the tournament tour has ever seen.
Yeah,
like he just comes out in a nice flame shirt, and the man looks like he could throw a 300 easily on Wii Sports or Nintendo Switch Sports.
At least Wii Sports. People are just jealous that they didn't think of Flavortown first. That's all it is.
Right. So, I understand there's a lot of hate for a lot of things. I can understand the hate for things like Nickelback, even though I don't really know what they ever did to anybody. But Chris Pratt, I mean, funny guy. I think he's a funny guy. Maybe it's the saturation thing. Maybe you're right. Maybe that's why people are so upset about it. But I don't think that, I think I'm just going to say it. I think Charles Martinet would be too much for 90 minutes.
That's what they were thinking.
Yeah. And I think that's what everyone, he's still in there. You could still hear bits and pieces of him. I think they did a good job. They probably overlaid both of the voices or something like that, or just cut the two, because you can clearly hear his wahoo in there and all these other things. I think that you got to give him a chance here. And we're from what you said before regarding, the cast lineup of Bob Hoskins and Johnny Legs over there, and Dennis Hopper in a movie that did not resemble Mario one bit. It was like a Mario fever dream.
Oh,
like Mario hits his head in the opening sequence, and then that's when you turn on the original 90s Super Mario Brothers movie and you play that till its end, and then he wakes up, and then you just resume the movie.
Yeah, exactly. It's. I mean, gosh, how many times have we talked about that movie now? It will live on in infamy. But yeah, and my thing about Chris Pratt is that I was just watching the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special, and it's a quick like 35 40 minute movie, and it's a one-off thing, but it's great. It has like holiday music and that kind of thing, and it's definitely my shout out to Kevin in the film as himself. That I've always enjoyed Chris Pratt in that role as the Guardians of the Galaxy, but you have an ensemble cast there. And so in that movie, it's one of the first times I can think of where a lot of the movie doesn't involve Chris. It kind of focuses on some of the other characters in the gang, namely
Mantis and Drax. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so during that stretch, I'm like, it was funny, but it was still missing something to make it, Guardians. And when they finally get back and Chris rejoins them, and then he's starting to get in those dry jokes, that's exactly what I needed. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like it just cemented any doubt I had about what Chris Pratt can add to a cast when he just shows up. I what I loved about this trailer is very early on, you could see him when he's talking. He kind of went for a little bit of the New York Italian accent there when he was getting ready to square off with Donkey Kong. So I think you're right that by mixing in Chris Pratt's voice acting for actual dialogue in a non-abrasive way, and having Charles Martinet provide the sound effects as he always has, there's never been Charles Martinet in Super Mario RPG, where he's waxing philosophic for 5 minutes.
And that's the thing, right? Like he doesn't have the, and I hate the fact that tons of these voice actors are, have said things like, oh, he is Mario. And it's like, until the 90s, he wasn't. Mm-hmm. Mario didn't have a voice, right? Like, I mean, that's like saying that there's a definitive voice of Link, the character who never says anything other than, huh?
Exactly.
That's it. So, I think that I think there's just, there's a lot of that, like, just hate attached to, somebody like Chris Pratt, where it's fun to gang up on him, and people are like, oh, you're not cool. That's my thing. Like when people are trying to like, oh, you're so edgy because you don't like this actor for, no, you don't like him for any reason other than like he's popular and maybe he's just not your cup of tea. He's not your cup of Chris, right?
Right.
There's a lot of Chris's in Hollywood. Chris's out there. Right. He's not your cup of Chris. And so
there's a lot of Chris's just in the MCU. I mean, let's be real, right? Hemsworth, Evans, Pratt. I mean, take your pick.
Too many Chris's. It's beyond ridiculous.
You got Chris Pine in the DC universe. I mean,
yes.
Just, there
you go. Mm-hmm. MC Chris from Aqua Teen Hunger Force. There you go. Let's go for the deep cut Chris's. Why stop with the A list? Let's bring it down to the C list, the Chris list. Okay.
The Chris list.
Now there's a podcast.
Name your favorite Chris.
Yes. That's right. It's a podcast where you only bring on Chris's. That's it.
Yep.
Yeah.
But back to the trailer, I agree. I mean, kind of looking at it more holistically for me, one thing that stuck out to me was how Peach is going to be, how Princess Peach is going to be portrayed in this movie. I think that's going to be really interesting to see because in the games historically, you don't really see her much. She's more of the damsel in distress, right? And you're Mario trying to rescue her, but she's playing a much more active role here. And, from what we see in the trailer to, not only stop, but actively partake in stopping Bowser from his agenda. So I'm interested to see how that.
It looks as though Luigi is the damsel in distress, right? Like it looks as though
kind of
he's trying to
there, right?
Yeah, and they're trying to get Luigi back, and so I think that's a great way to go about it. That's at least the vibe I got from it. Bowser had him; he was trying to find him. He kind of had him in this these chains, right? Like he's chained up and stuff. So I think that's what the journey is about, is him essentially getting his brother back. Whether that has been explicitly stated or not, I think that's the course that they're going through. But really, this is going to be a trailer that, gets dissected, similarly to the Player One trailer that Ready Player One that came out several years ago, where that took place in that virtual world, right? It was the meta, but way cooler. It was Oasis or something like that. And there were all those avatars in there where, you could see Master Chief and Tracer and all these different video game characters that and pop culture references that made their way in there. Yeah. I think that's what's going to happen with this, right? We've already seen Diddy Kong and some of the other the other Kongs in the Kong family, which no one, no one really thought that was going to be, they were going to be characters and then of course the iconic Rainbow Road. You know what I mean? That's what everyone wants to, first of all,
that's it.
Rainbows.
The more you know.
Yep. Right there. Well, I've got that.
Right under the rainbow tab there of the
right
soundboard.
the
Very
rainbow.
good.
Yep. It is. They're all in the same row.
Yeah. Going back to what you were saying, Brad, I think it is an interesting casting decision for Anya Taylor-Joy, because you're right that Peach is definitely being depicted as not the damsel in distress, rather, but just she's very independent. Like, she's seen, like, she's in some, I don't know, she's in some kind of outfit that she's ready to do battle. Look like some
so
sweatpants.
It's like the Mario Strikers version.
Yeah.
She pulls out
like
her battle axe or something. Like, she's like with Toad. I'm like, okay, I'm here for it.
Yeah, she doesn't need rescued for once. So like you said, Bruno, they're kind of flipping the script there, and it makes sense because looking at her IMDb for the actress Anya Taylor-Joy, she's done a lot of pretty serious movies. She's done and shows
Queen's
too.
Gambit.
Yes, exactly. She was in that remake of
incredible series on Netflix. It was, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. She's incredible in that.
Yeah, and really a lot of her selections, like it's more serious stuff. So I think they wanted to go with a casting call where she doesn't come across as dopey or incompetent, but rather just be this
very strong voice too.
Yeah,
she's got a very strong, I think, vocal range, and that's really going to lend to her strength as a character. You know, she's not going to sound all high pitched and kind of like Bubbles from Powerpuff Girls. You know, I don't think that's the vibe they're going with her, and so I think that's a great casting call. I like the sound of Luigi as well. I mean,
Charlie Day,
Charlie Day.
I think that's a great way to go. You gotta, and I know a lot of people are complaining about whitewashing and stuff like that. The thing is, with these types of movies, you have to realize that they need the name on the poster, right? Like, the names on the posters sell. Mm-hmm. And a couple years ago, there was this adage. It's not the same anymore, but it was towards the late 90s, early 2000s, where the only A-list celebrity there was probably like a handful. I would say like 2 or 3. But the true A-list celebrity was Will Smith. You could put his name on any poster and people would line up at the box office, right?
Right.
And so that's what a lot of these companies are doing when they cast these people. It's less, of course they're looking for a specific sound, but they're looking to sell tickets too.
Yeah.
But I think it's a unique situation because it's a rare animated movie with such a lore and a history where the content itself has not had a ton of dialogue. Because you look at other really popular animated series that then were taken from like a sitcom style to a movie and they made a movie version. Yeah. None of those, they didn't replace those people who voiced like SpongeBob or the Rugrats or whatever, right? Those people for continuity voice those movies. But in this case, you have a main character that really just doesn't have a ton of dialogue in the game. It's more like sounds and sound bits that now, since they're putting a full-fledged, plot together with dialogue, that now they have that freedom to cast who they want. And so I think that's a really unique situation for such a storied franchise where there have been voice actors there for decades, but it's different now that you have plot and dialogue that you want to carry a story throughout versus just it being a game where you're playing and there's just sound bits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm excited to see where they go with it. Go ahead, Bruno.
Oh, and there's, like you said, I think there's emotion behind this, right? Like, we're seeing Mario sad at certain points and kind of showing different emotions, which is something Mario's never done before. And so that's kind of off-putting when you've got someone like Charles Martinet doing that voice. It doesn't lead any brevity to what's being said. It just kind of takes it a little out of context. And I think that if this were a straight to DVD film, then yeah, you don't worry about who you're casting. You cast, you cast whoever and you throw it on the shelves and, happy holidays, right?
Yeah.
But, I still think that, the main thing that people are trying to do, when they cast these particular people is to sell tickets, and when someone passes by a movie poster, and they see the names up there, Chris Pratt has a lot of swing to his name,
You got to go with the supporting cast too. I mean, Keegan-Michael Key, Seth Rogen.
Mhm.
I mean, those guys were in Lion King. They've been in different animated movies. Like they're kind of add that to their repertoire now, their filmography of playing like not the main, but like an important side character in another movie, right? I mean, Seth Rogen was Pumbaa in Lion King. Keegan-Michael Key was also, I think he was Timon, right? Weren't they Timon and Pumbaa? Am I wrong?
Right.
No,
And then he was one of him and Jordan Peele were in Toy Story 4 as the bunny and the birdie or whatever, right? And so you've got these popular Hollywood celebrities also playing these side parts too that really I think lend around out that name power, right, Bruno, that you're talking about. And Fred Armisen, come on, Fred Armisen is Cranky Kong. I mean, come on,
yeah.
I think the problem that a lot of people get is obviously with the shift that we've seen in voice actors, right? Where traditional voice actors who have just done voice acting are getting pushed to the side for these A-list celebrities who have the face value. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, they're trying to make money, right? You've got to realize that money has to be made at that juncture, and that, they're going to make the decisions that best support, what they think is a good investment, right, Nick?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think for me the big thing is just that we've as gamers that grew up in the dark ages of gaming movies, we're finally seeing what I think is going to be the capstone to a long time coming. This is good. I mean, for all intents and purposes, as far as we can see, this is going to be a quality, well-made, and successful video game adaptation of Mario. Okay,
yeah.
And that we lived through a brutal time where movies like, of course, the first Mario Brothers movie, Street Fighter, the old Mortal Kombat movie, like they were the only chance you had of a movie being memorable was that it was so bad that it was good. But now, we've seen a complete turnaround.
Like The Room.
Exactly. We've seen the Detective Pikachu movie show that it can be done. Sonic the Hedgehog took that baton and pushed it to the next level. And now we're seeing finally Nintendo say, "Hey, we're going to give it a shot. Let's get out there. Let's create content and trust another studio." Because that's what they did. They took their IPs and they said after the failure of the Philips CDI, when they let other companies make Mario and Zelda games, and they came out with just laughably poor quality. And then the Mario Brothers movie, there was a decision there. There was a boardroom meeting where they said, not anymore. No one gets these IPs. We're going to be a walled garden. They're finally starting to tear down that wall. And as long as, the metrics are there and it makes fiscal sense, we're seeing what's happening now with Super Mario World being constructed in the US. Can't wait for that. Where it's a really exciting time to not only be a gamer on the tail end of that period, but also, if you have kids or a family that you can now bring along to those experiences. And there's something magic about that moment, right? Being able to take a kid or a family member to a park or a movie and be like, "Hey, I grew up with this, and now we get to experience something new together. It isn't just me showing you the way it was. Here's the new generation of content for it." So I'm really there. You go. That's how you segue. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna go, and the fireworks just went off. We went down the pipe into World 1-2. But before we go through the underground zone, we gotta stop by our good friends at Patreon, right? We gotta thank them because listen, yeah, our QTV and Fuego supporters are hotter than ever, okay? And they include Epic Capture Productions, Matt.Bat, Alexa, Caitlin, Josh, Courtney, and Megan. And thank you to our QTV Plus supporters as well. Nick, The Dudist Monk, Indie Gamiacs, Alan Abadessa, Mr. Grove Games, the Intergalactic Pinecone, and Fluffy Bunny. Hey, if you want to support us directly, $2 a month will get you on the board and get you access to all of this amazing content, including the Nostalgia Vault bonus episodes. We've got more stuff planned on the way, so do not miss it. And get that exclusive merch. We're talking t-shirts, mugs, posters, you name it, tote bags, for heaven's sake. Check it out and support us. If you want to support us, we always say this, Patreon is one of the best ways to do it. What's this? For those of you listening, I'm getting hand signals from Bruno, and I've never seen him in my life. Oh, you're making the two go back and forth.
Telling you, steal third, Nick.
Oh, okay.
I was doing magic.
Oh, that was amazing. Oh, look at you. Where'd that finger go? Okay, I don't want to know. Don't tell me. Anyway, stop on by patreon.com/quitthebuild. Operators are standing by. All right, Bruno. No, we don't have operators. It's just a website.
No, it is.
It's just a website.
But we do have some really cool things coming down the pipeline for the website. And then in the coming year, we've got a lot of stuff that's going to be coming. We're going to overhaul, essentially redo our entire shop. So we're going to be adding new stuff on there, exclusive things that you can only get on quitthebuild.com, more than just our logo. So exciting stuff. We will have more to share with you in the coming weeks. So that's really exciting too.
It's a fun time to be part of the QTB family here. And before we move on to our next story here, very important question in the audience here from Caitlin, asking Brad, your skin looks incredible. What is your secret?
If I tell you, then I'd have to get,
wow.
It's a secret, Can't
Okay. Well, yeah, the audience is bummed, but they also understand. Just
you look great. Maybe
they don't understand. They're turning on you, Brad. They're turning on you.
Shampoo, conditioner, little, I use all
it's
natural
called a
soap,
soft filter that's built into Razer Keo webcams.
You've got my nice pop my nice ring light on, freshen up the skin. So
the ring light takes off at least 5 years. It's something nice. I tell you, best invention for content creators in a long time is the ring light. I'm all about it.
But I appreciate the compliment. Maybe I'll do a whole segment on my Brad's beauty tips, but no.
Ooh, move over, Brad Beers. It's there you go. We'll launch your line of skincare products here on our website here very soon.
Okay.
Yes, I love it.
Sure, we've got a big audience for those.
Big time. Big time.
You've heard of Brad's deals. Now we got Brad's lotions.
Brad's peels. Skin peels. Oh my gosh. Oh boy. Well, I'll tell you what else is appealing, and that is people are talking about Pokémon Scarlet and Violet. They are. I know. I try with the segue. I should have said unappealing because this next story is coming from IGN.com. Wanted to touch on this because, we talked about this on the last episode when Bruno and Brad weren't there. And I want to kind of get your guys' take on it because even if you haven't played it, I mean, I'm sure you've heard that the game is a buggy mess. And the big problem that they're facing right now, well, I shouldn't say facing because they've sold a record number of copies. 10 million copies were sold for this in like the first 72 hours.
Wow.
To put that in context, God of War Ragnarok, which is already commercially the most successful PS5 title to date, has only sold 5 million copies. So even though it's a complete mess.
What were the numbers?
10 million for Scarlet and Violet, 72 hours in. Ragnarok sold 5 million copies. And that was their biggest title.
Isn't it a PS5 exclusive, or does it also run on PS4?
No.
It runs on a Jet Engine PS4, right?
it would need to be on Jet Engine mode if it could.
So I mean, there's only a handful of people that have PS5s anyway. So
all of them got God of War.
All
every
of them
single
got
one.
God, of course. And I think that before we get into Pokemon, obviously this is going to become a shock to you. I have not played God of War Ragnarok because I don't have a PlayStation 5.
Right.
But if I were going to get a PS5, that would be number one on my list. I think that God of War does exactly what a first party title should do on a console. Yeah. I think that it delivers everything from a story, from a gameplay perspective that makes it fun, makes it enjoyable. And I think that that's their flagship, right? I know a lot of people want to tout something like Last of Us or Uncharted, but right. I think God of War is the flagship of PlayStation. I think it's a phenomenal game. So kudos to the team over there for doing that. And with a flagship game, Nick, like Pokemon, we'd expect big things. Yeah. But it seems like we run into this every Pokemon cycle. I don't feel like this is new news to me because the last Pokemon that came out, people were complaining about something.
Right.
So are we just expecting too much from this, or is it really just a buggy mess?
I mean, here's what I've got for you, man. And that is, we talked a lot on the last episode about the buggy mess on the front end, about how the game is clearly they had to skip the polishing phase in order to get this game out for the holidays. I think that's where the crunch came in. That they were maybe another 6 months or so away from a game that may have had a little bit of a pizzazz, a little bit of polish.
Really? But
yeah.
haven't we just yeah. haven't we just like established that Nintendo has kind of a as long as it takes type of attitude? So why does this fall short of that mentality in that respect, just because of numbers? I mean, obviously they're going to look at that, right, Brad, and be like, well, it was a win from us regardless, right? Doesn't matter that the game sucks or that the game has bugs because you've already got the money. And people are still going to want it, even with the bad review. People are still going to pick it up for the holiday.
There's a reputation thing. I think it's when you start to cut corners, that becomes that becomes a reputation thing, right? So historically speaking, these games have been very polished and very thorough, right? And if the quality starts to be watered down, or you see some of the attention to detail start to flutter, then you wonder, you're slowly going to lose that base. And there are going to be people who are going to remember like, oh man, this was buggy, or this wasn't finished and I missed out, or I felt like it wasn't worth the money. So yes, right now, are they enjoying the revenue that they've generated from this release? Yes. And will that still peak through the holidays? Probably. But at what point do you realize that, wow, it could have been even better, right? Like, how much more could we have made if the reviews were sterling, like top notch, not, inconsistent? So it's kind of, it's not just about now, it's about the future. And where is Pokemon going from here, and what does that next game look like, and do we see a repeat of this behavior?
So that leads me to my next question for Nick. Is this salvageable then at the end of the day? Is this just an update away from being okay, or are we looking at just a fundamental miss in terms of what was delivered via the storyline and all that kind of stuff?
I think this has a better chance than the last gen of Pokemon to be salvaged, because in Sword and Shield, we saw where the corners were cut in the actual game design, and the lack of just, there's certain parts of the game where you can see they were just trying to rush you along to the next town, to the next gym, didn't want to spend too much time on trying to flesh things out in certain spots. Whereas this, it's all there. It's just in a really, really poorly performing state. And you're talking about Nintendo's philosophy about putting a game out when it's done. I think that's true about Zelda, because they have no qualms with delaying a game when they need to, and have for the Breath of the Wild sequel. Mario, a lot of their core single player IPs, they will do that. But Pokemon, no, they have shifted to a model where, like, they have Pokemon Presents presentations. They're trying to get out, and I think that they're on record stating this, they want to get out major Pokemon releases annually. And that puts a lot of pressure out on the developers in a way that I don't think we're seeing. Because remember, Pokemon is their top-selling franchise by far. It's one of the top-grossing franchises of all time. So they want those games out the door. And unfortunately, the message that is sent when they put out a half-baked product and it sells 10 million copies in 3 days is that they don't need to work on perfecting things, because it's going to sell those copies. I mean, we really have seen an accelerated timetable with Pokemon games. You look at Sword and Shield, that came out in late 2020. then Pokemon Legends Arceus announced in 2021, released in January of this year. And now already we're getting, and that was a huge open world, like Breath of the Wild style Pokemon game. Now we're getting a new gen.
But I'll say, like, if you look at Arceus, right, like it's not the most breathtakingly, beautiful graphic game that I've ever seen, right? Like it definitely feels like something that could be pushed out pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. I think with what they have in terms of like creating some type of land or whatever, the model that they use is not that different. I think they're using the same mechanics. I think all of these are stepping stones to the next thing, right? And they kind of have to get these out to basically be better at the end of the day, to improve at the end of the day. I think it's the old adage that I've always, lived by, which is, you try and make if you're, doing something, you try and make as many as you can and learn from those mistakes, right?
Yeah.
Now, that might not be a great view from a consumer standpoint, but from a developing standpoint, it's great, because if you have to wait 3 years between feedback, to what you're trying to develop, then development stagnates and it doesn't progress in a way that becomes something that the community wants. So I think that these games, although they, are difficult to swallow, I think that it's a necessary step forward in what they're producing in terms of the previous gen, right? Yeah. Like, maybe it's the same as like Call of Duty, where at the end of the day, you're getting the same game as you got last year with, maybe a few gun updates or whatever. It probably rewards people who skip a few games and come back to it. I thought Arceus was great. Yeah, sure, I missed a few Pokemon in there. They were missing some of my favorites. Which ones? I want to be the I'm going to let you know, Nick. There's quite a few.
Here he goes, everybody. Name it all 150 Pokemon. It's Bruno.
They need it.
Electro, Diglett, Nidoran, Mankey, Venusaur, Rattata, Fearow, Pidgey, Seaking, Jolteon, Dragonite, Ghastly. Only time for
Brad, we can't stop him.
Butterfree.
We can't stop him.
Yeah.
Gotta catch them all.
There we go. Okay, now we're done. I thought we were getting the whole thing.
No, I have the whole thing on there, and I was ready to do that, but okay. we'll save that for another time. But no, seriously,
I have to pull a Jimmy Kimmel and bump you like Matt Damon. So
it's all the time we have for today.
That's all the time we have.
Sorry, Matt Damon.
Couldn't get to him.
We ran out of time
today. Oh man, it's a shame. But I think that expectations obviously are something that a lot of gamers are really dealing with in terms of putting too much expectations in a game. I think, yes, you should expect at the very least that the game works, is not glitchy or buggy. And I think that when you release things like that, obviously you kind of have to put the back the track up, right? Back the train up and address those things, because you can't be delivering a product like that fundamentally is broken. But at the end of the day, like Brad said, and you said yourself, people are going to buy it, and Nintendo's going to look at that and be like, this is a win for us, the same way that EA does with Madden and Call of Duty. Like, like these games release on this yearly schedule, and it's like, we know that the fan base is going to buy it, even though it's a glorified roster update, right? So let's just put it out there and charge $60 for it and grab it,
There you go.
Nick, I'll maybe we can wrap up with this. Hearing Bruno and you speak, what does the future of a Pokemon look like, right? Like, are we wanting a game that has every Pokemon accessible? And I mean, they've come out and said that that's almost impossible, right? From a capability standpoint, right? So to me, they've almost created their own platform for revenue, but it's going to get tired, because if they're going to release new versions where you only get certain Pokemon in it, like then you got to buy 6 games to be able to play with all the Pokemon that it's like relevant, right? Like it seems a bit fatigued in terms of that approach, right? And I think the gimmick of the new legendaries is starting to feel a bit tired too. So you wonder, what does the future or the ability for Pokemon games to exist look like going forward? Because I think we're kind of on the precipice of a refresh of like the way these games are being made, and maybe we look at maybe delivering it a different way.
Well,
I think you're not far off.
Yeah,
I think you're not far off.
I got a news for you here. This is the easy answer, right? Like it becomes a hardware limitation. You know, these developers are working with a very, very small box in with which to work for these hardware limitations, and that is going to stunt progress, and obviously it's going, because to say like, we can't get all the Pokemon in one game, that's a lie. That we know that's a lie. Like that's because Sony or Xbox would look at that and be like, yeah, we're not going to allow that to happen. Like you will fix this. You will get all Pokemon into one game. I guarantee you, if it was run by them, that we would have something like that because the hardware is there. I think that because we've got limited hardware, it's easy for them to take that stance and be like, yeah, it's not possible. Well, yeah, with the limited hardware of the Switch, then yes, it isn't possible. So, to answer your question, at what point, do these things have to change? There has to be a change from Nintendo first. There has to be a change on the hardware side before there can be a change on the software side. And so, you're not going to be able to, squeeze any more horsepower out of this console that that we've got. And so I think that's a great lesson, that goes back to what I said before, expectations, right? You've got to realize that you're playing on, hardware with limited capabilities. Obviously it's mobile. It's got, a lot more inner workings going on than we realize in terms of the mobility and how the chipsets and whatnot that Nintendo uses proprietarily. But I think that this is just comes down to being a hardware limitation that we might see, resolved with the next Switch 2 or Switch Pro or whatever, the Super Switch, whatever they're going to call it.
Whatever it's going to be.
All I know is I'd take an expansion pack of being able to replay all the old ones on the Switch. I mean, that's where you got me. If I could go back and like replay red, blue, yellow, gold, silver, black. I mean, if you could go back through and have an option to play all those again, that would be cool. It
would be really cool if you got to like choose maybe your set. Where like, you could say, here's an open world platform. You can choose whatever set of Pokemon you want. The Kanto region. Do you want the Johto region or something like that? I mean, there are a million different ways that they could really present this. And I'm sure that Reddit or some Nintendo forum community has a better idea of this than me. But, I think as Pokemon fans, that's our dream, right? The dream is to have every Pokemon on one game and have an open world thing. Maybe they don't want to build that because where do you go after that? Right. Where
that's it. That's it.
Just add more Pokemon, and that changes the game, right? It becomes less of a game that's released annually and more of a live service game, which, as we know, Nintendo's, just kind of dipping their toes into. So
yep.
I don't know.
Pokemon multiverse. That's where we're going.
Right.
They'll come up with something. Don't worry. Don't worry.
Nick's like, man, we really went way deeper into this than I thought we would. That face is.
We
is
did.
We didn't get to the story. That's how in depth we went. But it's good because I wanted to make sure that we gave you guys a chance to kind of talk about that because it's an issue, and the story was talking more about the end game that now people are getting there. And I mean, these terror raids, which essentially are how you team up to go take on these big Pokemon that are way overbuffed, and just the myriad of issues that it's making the game borderline unplayable and unfun. That there's a gameplay loop problem, and hopefully one that is resolved. But again, if Sword and Shield is any indicator, don't count on it. So we'll see how long we can tolerate it, and hope that the next entry is, they're looking at what they've done right, and they're where they're not afraid to venture into new territory.
So do I pick it up? Yes or no?
No. I picked up Violet. I played it on after Thanksgiving dinner. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna check it out. Yeah. And I downloaded it. I played it for 15 minutes, and the game was so unpolished. It was so poor. It looked like a PS2 game. That I said, you know what? I'm gonna table this. I'm gonna come back to it in a year and hope that the patches fix it. So I noped out of it, and this is coming from somebody that beat Pokemon Sword. So we'll see. But I'm not impressed, and I'm not gonna invest my time into it. Yeah. So on that note, I'll tell you where you guys should invest your time, and that's our website, for God's sake. It's quitbuild.com. You better get over there. We got blog articles. We got merch. Got to get you some swag. We call that squad swag. T-shirts. We got. What don't we have is the better question. And of course, make sure that you join our Discord. The link to that is at the bottom of every site. Our homepage, right when you go to quitthebuild.com. Scroll on down; it's right there. To join our growing community of gamers that put positivity, inclusivity, and fun first. Love everyone that we've had so many people joining in the last 2 weeks. We just passed 300 Discord members, so our community is really flourishing. And love to see it. Stuff happening all the time. Get in there, post a meme or two. Tell Terry we sent. We got multiple Terrys. Shout out to all the Terrys. Yeah,
all of them. Hi, Terrys.
Hollywood has Chris's. We have Terrys. That's our
QTB Terrys.
That's right.
That's they put the T in QTB.
There you go.
Quit Terry's build.
Quit Terry's build. That's it. Awesome. Well, yeah. And of course, stay tuned for our next episode. We've got some pretty cool stuff we're announcing. And like Bruno, like you said, we've got some cool stuff happening with merchandise here in the coming weeks and months that we can't wait to share with you. And man, it's never been a better time to be part of the QTB crew there, eh, Brad?
All right. You took the words right out of my mouth, Nick. I got nothing else to say.
Well, Bruno, if Brad's got nothing, all he can do is provide the hair. So you got to get us out of here.
I know where we're going, Nick.
Oh, ho, ho.
We're going to Breeding
we're on the road
boys.
to the outro.
Yeah, the road.
I'm going.
It's been awesome. Thanks so much for tuning in to the QTB podcast. Wow. For Nick and Brad, I'm Bruno.
For Bruno and Brad, I'm Nick.
And for Nick and Bruno, I'm Brad.
Peace out. What it do?
Quit the Build.